painting. Before you begin painting your sign, remove all the protective duct tape, as well as the remaining stencil. Ensure your sign is free of any dust and debris before you paint. Because of the uniform cellular structure and chemically inert composition of sign foam, any kind of paint can be used, from water-based latex to lacquers and automotive finishes. In this case, a solid color latex stain will be used as the background color. It acts as a pigmented primer, saving you a step in the production process. Use an acrylic artist brush suited for the size of the job. A stiffer brush works best, allowing you to push the paint into the surface. Flood the surface of the sign with the stain or pigmented primer. If the brush begins to feel stiff, dab it in a latex conditioner. Latex conditioner breaks the surface tension and allows the stain to flow into the grain of sign foam and spread more easily. On lettering and raised surfaces, especially when using latex, use a clean, dry rag to wipe off the top surface to smooth out the paint and prepare it for the next layer. As you proceed, use a fine brush to get the detail. Once you've completed the first coat, lightly sand over the tops of the lettering surfaces using a 600 grit piece of sandpaper to remove any uneven texture or dust. This will allow the foam brush to apply the paint evenly and smoothly. Be careful not to sand down to the sign foam surface, just the very top layer of the paint on the raised surface. The next step is to take a standard foam brush with a plastic core for rigidity and prepare it for painting. Load the brush by dipping it into the paint 3 times, smoothing the brush out onto a scrap piece of cardboard between each loading. Next, clear off any extra paint from the edges of the brush. Now your brush is completely loaded and ready to go. Position the brush with a flat, angled portion on top of the letter. If the brush is properly loaded, the entire line of copy should receive paint. Don't worry about minor streaks, as a second coat is always recommended. If you're running low on paint, simply flip the brush around to complete the section. For the next section, reload the brush, but just one dip into the paint is required. With practice, you'll find the right angle can help you increase your speed. It's best to go with a new foam brush for a new section and color. Once again, choose a brush with a plastic stiffener for optimal control. As before, load the brush 3 times, then smooth off the edges to avoid unwanted drips on the surface. With the angled portion flat against the surface, apply the paint evenly, keeping in mind a second coat will be needed. Because the surface was sanded earlier, the brush will flow evenly and easily. Should you need more paint, go back to the cardboard and get more. Again, smooth off the edges to avoid drips. Patience and practice yield speed and consistent results. Remember, work from the inside out, especially on a big sign. The border is the last thing to paint. To properly paint the edges, elevate the sign off the table with foam pads. Load the brush like before and paint your way around the border and edges. Contrast is always a factor in a good sign, so consider choosing a different color for the border than the rest of the sign. Do the top surface first, then the edges. Ensure the chamfers are nice and clean and smooth out the paint to create a consistent, even look. In this digital age, hand painting a sign may seem intimidating, but because of the unique cellular structure of sign foam, hand painting is fast, easy, and effective, keeping the creativity and craftsmanship in the sign maker's art. For fine detail, tilt the brush on its side to get a sharp edge. Take your time, and you'll see the results and the profits.